Hello everyone, welcome to another learning workshop. In our session today, we shall learn practical ways to ground oneself. So far, we have seen what is a grounding technique, where it is applicable, and in our this series, this particular session, we shall look at the practical ways we can use to ground ourselves. Let's get started. Our first technique is the box or square breathing. This is a technique when you feel emotionally flooded, like angry, scared, overwhelmed, or you're having a tough conversation at work, or you got an upsetting news. Box breathing helps you calm down and come back into the present moment. This is where, through the help of our nervous system, we regulate and move away from an overwhelm or a panic mode to a deep, calm mode inside our body and mind. So, the way you do this is you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for four, then you exhale for 4 seconds, and then again hold for four. So, inhale for four, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for four, and hold for 4 seconds. Repeat this 2 to 3 times, which will, with your deep breathing, it will help you get into this deep state of calm. As you do these breathing, your vagus nerve is used, which is the longest nerve that runs from your brain right to the bottom of your body. And when we indulge in breathing exercises to ground ourselves, they have a direct impact both on our body and our mind, helping us move away from a panic mode to a mode of more calm and peaceful state. So, if you are someone who may like this or are a big fan of breathing techniques, you can go for this. Our next technique to ground ourselves is called the name and desire objects technique. In this, if you are going through a difficult situation, one of the ways to ground yourself is to pick an object near you. It could be anything. It could be a piece of cloth, a pen, a bottle, and to shift your focus away from the stressful thing that has just happened. You are using this particular object and you would describe this object in great detail, like its color, texture, shape, weight. What it actually does here is it is distracting you and grounding you into a state of calm. Because when you're describing an object, when you hold something, it could be a pen, a book, whatever you find it handy. Here we are using the part of our brain, which is the front part of our brain, which is called PFC, prefrontal cortex, which is our brain which helps us to think rationally and in a logical way. So when we start to use this part of our brain, automatically that part of our brain which is stressed out or is in a panic or a stress mode or in an overwhelmed mode will start to subside, and the front part, which is the PFC, prefrontal cortex, this mode is activated. And how is this activated? When you pick up an object and you go and describe it in a great detail. So you look, so automatically our mind cannot really think two things at the same time. So that's a blessing actually. So if you really want to distract yourself, you can do this activity anywhere. Even if you're having a panic attack or you're unnecessarily feeling very anxious or stressed, you could do this. Just pick up any object near you and describe it in great detail. The one other ways, I should say rather two, is using your thumb and fingers and press one after the other. So you use your thumb, your index finger, then you use your thumb, your middle finger, you use your thumb and your pinky finger, and you keep touching the tips of your fingers, each finger to your thumb. And this way, also, you can distract yourself. So this is another way, but a more effective one would be where you pick an object like this person with a cloth in hand, and you feel every detail about it, the texture, the color, the senses you feel, what the color reminds you of, and everything. And that is another way which can help you ground yourself. The third technique to ground ourselves is the carry a grounding object. In this technique, we keep a small comforting object in our pocket or bag, like a smooth stone, a piece of fabric, or a bracelet. And when we are stressed out, we hold it and focus on its texture and feel. This is a technique you can use when you are in a public place, like an airport, or an office, or a social gathering, and you're feeling anxious or stressed out. And here you are not able to you can't just sit in a social gathering and start to breathe heavily or ground yourself, like lie down or relax. Then in those scenarios, this particular technique will help you, where you carry that object with you, and the moment you have a stressful thought which is overwhelming you, bringing you into a panic mode or an anxious mode, you can pick this object and try to literally feel through it, the whole structure, the meaning you have given to it, the very senses, the sensory feelings you're having as you hold it. This helps you move away from your stress mode to a more calm state, and doing it only for few minutes can help you move away from the deep stress mode that you're about to fall into, and it prevents you and protects you and shifts your inner state of mind into a state which is way more calm and is logically thinking about the object in the hand. So try this. Then we have another technique. It's called the sensory grounding. In this, when you have a mild panic attack, sort of, or there's an important meeting or exam where you cannot carry these objects or even cannot do a breathing, full-time box breathing, then this thing can come handy. And this is where you're using your senses of your touch, seeing, smell, and taste. So remember this, it's called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. I have a separate full video on this. I shall share the link in the description box in case you want to do that meditation. But here it is in a little brief form, what I'm about to share with you. But that other meditation uh, is a little lengthier. So whichever way is okay. The idea is that you learn this technique and you can anytime recall it, even if you are in a meeting and you're feeling very anxious or stressed out, you can do this 5-4-3-2-1 technique. This technique in which you 5 things you can see. So you look around the room and all just list in your head, in your mind, what are the 5 things you can see. Then 4 things you can feel. When I say feel, it's the temperature, it's any kind of smell in the room, or some kind of coolness from the AC in the room, or warmth, whatever, just whatever you could feel. 3 things you can hear. In this, not necessarily you hear the people in the room, it could be, at a distance. Sometime when we are at home, we could hear in distant traffic or the vehicles passing by or the hum of the refrigerator or the moving of the ceiling fan. If you are in office, then there could be any mild subtle voice also is okay. So think about the 3 things you can hear. Then 2 things you can smell, and one thing you can taste. Now, in this one thing that you can taste, you can even recall if you have nothing to taste at that very moment, like you're in a meeting and there's nothing that you can eat there or even drink water. So you could just recall the last thing that you had eaten or drank, like a coffee or something in breakfast, and think of that. That itself can help you. See, the whole idea is to practice something which, when we are feeling anxious and overwhelmed and into a deep stress mode, and we feel that we really need some help, we need to ground ourselves so that we can think clearly and not just carried away by the emotions that are trying to hijack us. These techniques help us ground us. Now, in each of these techniques, the underlying principle is sometimes we are using the vagus nerve, which is our using the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in our body, through the breathing technique. And when we breathe, it automatically pulls us into the deep state of calm. Similarly, these other techniques, whether you touch an object, whether you touch your thumb and fingers, or you describe an object in detail, or you use this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, or you do a box breathing. Every technique, the underlying principle is we are rewiring our mind and activating that part of our mind, which is our front part, PFC, prefrontal cortex, that's a rational mind, to help us, taking help of that conscious mind to bring us back from the state of anxiety, calm, and stress to a state of thinking. So when the inner state change, when our neurons in the brain start to get activated of the PFC area, the prefrontal cortex area, we start to think, and the moment we think, the other things, the amygdala or the limbic system, which is our emotional part of our brain, they kind of get into uh, a relaxed mode. So that become inactive and our thinking become active. And the more we practice these techniques, the more we keep our PFC active, and it really helps us get grounded in the present moment. And when you are in the present moment, you are away from that distant future, which may or may not happen, and the past, of which we cannot do anything about. So, friends, practice this as much as you can, learn whichever is convenient to you, and use these techniques so that you do not drag yourself or put yourself into a deep stress mode. There's some additional grounding techniques with physical sensation, which also you can practice, but this is more something you can do at home if you're feeling way too anxious, overwhelmed. This is where you place your bare feet on the ground and sit and feel the floor beneath you and give every detail to your mind about the floor beneath you. How is it? What you're feeling? How does it, is it warm, cool, hard, soft? Uh, and every other detail that you may want. So this is one method where you're using a physical sensation. Another way is where you can run a cold water over your hands and you notice the sensation. This is mostly applicable when you feel a bit numb, like you feel there are no feelings. You sometimes feel that you've gone numb if after hearing, God forbid, shocking news or something very tragic or overwhelming, and you suddenly feel numb, meaning you feel no emotions in your body. In such scenarios, you can run some cold water on your hand, and the sensations of very cold water on your hand can suddenly bring you back into the present. So instead of your mind drifting into a numb mode where you're feeling completely disconnected with your emotional world, this sensory grounding techniques, like you put your feet on the floor and try to see pay attention to that sensation of the ground, the floor beneath you, which can be hard, soft, of some design, or warm, or it could be even a carpet or a cushion or whatever. So you are, through that sensation, bringing yourself back into the present moment. So, and running a cold water onto your hand is where you suddenly feel you're back into the present moment. These exercises, friends, these techniques per se, helps you get back into the present moment and prevents you from falling into deep stress. So learn them, practice them. I'm sure you will find them, they are incredibly simple, and you will find them very, very impactful if you practice them more often, consistently, and with intention. Thank you.